Meet David, an endearing man in his 70s who just wants to enjoy his golden years. After dedicating his life to his career, he finally had the chance to relax and spend time with his loved ones. But unfortunately, that was not meant to be. Instead of basking in the glory of his well-earned retirement, David found himself caught in a terrifying nightmare when someone he trusted betrayed him in the most heinous way possible. That someone was none other than his financial advisor, Edward, who was supposed to help David manage his finances and secure his future. But instead of doing that, Edward devised a diabolical plan to steal millions of dollars from his elderly client. In this video, we are going to delve into the twisted mind of this financial advisor and uncover the shocking details of how he pulled off the perfect retirement heist, leaving his clients penniless and betrayed. You won't believe the lengths to which he went to cover up his crimes. So make sure to watch until the end. But before we begin, if you appreciate the hard work that goes into producing quality content like this, it does help out tremendously if you hit the like button. It helps us keep making more great videos. So thank you for your support. Now let's get into the story. David's story is a cautionary tale that could have been taken straight from a Hollywood thriller. Imagine working diligently for decades, saving every penny with the goal of retiring comfortably only to have it all vanish in the blink of an eye. That's precisely what happened to David after placing his trust in the wrong hands. Edward, his financial advisor, seemed like the epitome of trustworthiness when they first met. He exuded confidence and had a seemingly stellar reputation. David, along with several other elderly clients, entrusted Edward with managing their retirement funds, believing that he would help them secure a comfortable future. However, what David didn't realize was that he had fallen prey to a cunning predator who had been luring unsuspecting victims for years. Edward had a knack for targeting vulnerable individuals nearing retirement and had amassed a fortune by exploiting their life savings. With David on board, Edward felt confident that he had secured another lucrative payday. But little did he know that David was not the type to take betrayal lying down. As David dove deeper into Edward's financial plans, he noticed discrepancies that raised red flags. Initially, he dismissed them as simple mistakes or misunderstandings. But as time went on, the red flags turned into glaring warning signs. When he pressed Edward for answers, he was met with evasive responses and false reassurances. David's suspicions grew stronger when he started receiving calls from people claiming that they were Edward's former clients. They shared stories of financial ruin and betrayal, claiming that Edward had vanished without a trace. At that moment, David realized that he might be next. Fueled by determination to expose Edward's deceitful ways, David reached out to law enforcement. The authorities took David's claims seriously, launching a full-scale investigation into Edward's activities. As the investigation unfolded, a shocking truth emerged. Edward had been running a sophisticated financial scam, preying on the life savings of unsuspecting retirees like David. It turned out that Edward had been using his clients' money to fund a lavish lifestyle, buying luxury cars, mansions, and expensive artwork. He had even set up offshore accounts to hide his ill-gotten gains. With evidence mounting against him, Edward was arrested and charged with financial fraud and money laundering. The community breathed a collective sigh of relief knowing that the man who had terrorized them for years was finally behind bars. But as the dust settled, a sense of injustice and anger filled the hearts of those affected by Edward's actions. Many had lost their entire life savings, while others had to downsize their homes or sell their prized possessions to make ends meet. However, despite the devastation caused by Edward's scam, there was a glimmer of hope on the horizon. As the trial commenced, the full extent of Edward's crimes was revealed. It was a tangled web of deceit, financial manipulation, and outright theft. Prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence, including bank statements, transaction records, and even secretly recorded conversations between Edward and his victims. Throughout the trial, Edward's arrogance and callousness were on full display. He showed no remorse for the financial ruin he had caused, instead resorting to blaming his victims for being too trusting. The community watched intently as the trial unfolded, hoping for justice to be served. As the closing arguments approached, both the prosecution and defense attorneys delivered their final pleas to the jury. The prosecution painted a picture of a cunning and ruthless con artist who had preyed on some of the most vulnerable members of society. They emphasized the emotional toll his actions had taken, not just financially, but also emotionally and psychologically. The defense, on the other hand, attempted to sow doubt in the minds of the jury, suggesting that the victims had willingly invested their money and were now trying to shift the blame onto Edward. As the jury began their deliberations, the community held their breath. The verdict would not only determine Edward's fate, but also send a message to other potential scammers and con artists. After days of intense deliberation, the jury returned with a guilty verdict on all counts. A wave of relief and satisfaction washed over the community as Edward was led away in handcuffs. Finally, justice was being served. The judge, in a powerful and moving statement, condemned Edward's actions, calling him a master manipulator who had exploited the trust of his victims. He emphasized the importance of holding such predators accountable and ensuring that they face the full weight of the law. Edward was sentenced to multiple decades in prison, a fitting punishment for the years of financial and emotional torment he had inflicted on his victims. But as the courtroom cleared and the media frenzy subsided, many in the community were left wondering how they would ever recover from the ordeal. For some, it meant having to work longer than they had anticipated, while others had to sacrifice their retirement plans altogether. But amidst the despair, there was a sense of resilience. The community came together, offering support and sharing resources to help one another rebuild their lives. They organized fundraising events, created support groups, and reached out to local businesses for assistance. As time went on, the scars of betrayal and financial loss began to heal. The community learned to navigate their new financial realities, adjusting their lifestyles and making tough decisions to stay afloat. Some found solace in the power of forgiveness, choosing to let go of the anger and resentment they harbored towards Edward. They understood that dwelling on the past would only hinder their recovery. Meanwhile, Edward languished in prison, cut off from the life of luxury he had once enjoyed. The walls of his cell became his only company as he grappled with the consequences of his actions. The news of his victims' resilience likely reached him through whispers and rumors from fellow inmates, serving as a constant reminder of the devastation he had caused. As the years passed, Edward's name slowly faded from the headlines and public consciousness. But for the victims, the journey towards recovery was far from over. Many continued to attend support group meetings, finding strength in numbers and sharing their experiences with others who understood what they had endured. They also reached out to lawmakers, advocating for stronger financial regulations and consumer protections. Their voices played a role in raising awareness about financial scams and helping others avoid falling victim to similar schemes. Through it all, the community held fast to the belief that they would eventually come out stronger on the other side. They knew that true strength lay not in their ability to amass wealth, but in their capacity to endure, adapt, and support one another. And that brings us back to David. After enduring the trauma of financial betrayal, David decided to embrace a simpler way of life. He downsized his home, letting go of the excess baggage of his previous life. Instead of dwelling on what could have been, he chose to focus on the present moment, appreciating the small joys that often go unnoticed. He spent more time with his loved ones, creating new memories that brought him happiness. He reconnected with old friends and made an effort to nurture those relationships. He also discovered new hobbies and passions, exploring areas that had always interested him but had been neglected due to his career. One day, as David sat in his cozy living room surrounded by his family, he realized that true wealth lay not in material possessions or financial status, but in the richness of human connection and the beauty of simplicity. Despite the scars left by Edward's betrayal, David found solace in the unwavering love and support of his family and friends. They stood by him, offering comfort and understanding during his darkest moments. Their presence was a constant reminder that he was not alone. Together, they navigated the challenges that lay ahead, turning to one another for support and strength. Through it all, David never lost sight of the importance of human connection. He reached out to other victims of Edward's scam, forming a bond of shared experience and empathy. They created a support group where individuals could come together, share their stories, and find solace in knowing that they were not alone in their struggle to recover. The group provided a safe space for people to express their emotions, whether it was anger, grief, or fear. They also worked together to hold Edward accountable, advocating for stricter financial regulations and consumer protections. Together, they channeled their pain into a force for positive change, determined to prevent others from falling victim to similar scams. Looking back at his journey, David realized that while the betrayal he had suffered was deep and painful, it had also been a catalyst for profound growth and transformation. It had stripped away the illusions of his former life, revealing what truly mattered to him. In the end, David's story serves as a beacon of hope and resilience for those who have experienced financial betrayal. It is a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure, adapt, and thrive even in the face of extraordinary adversity. His journey reminds us that true strength lies not in material possessions, but in the richness of human connection and the courage to embrace a simpler, more meaningful way of life. Thank you for watching the video. If you like this story, please remember to hit the like button. Your support helps us continue producing quality content. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. We look forward to seeing you in the next one.